Hey everyone, super excited to bring you another incredible training from our Friday Connect training series. For those of you that are new to the channel, we host these every single Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, completely for free. Now, if you're interested in joining one of these calls, just click the link that's in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. That'll take you over to our Facebook group where you can see all the upcoming calls, all the upcoming topics, and even leave some suggestions for something you want to see us cover in the future. With all that being said, let's just get right into the training.
So Mike Sherrard, if you haven't heard of him, he is actually one of the top social media coaches in the world, ranked one of the top realtors on YouTube, #1 realtor on social media in Alberta and Calgary, and co-founder of one of the largest and fastest growing organization at eXp Realty. So we're super lucky to have him here. So thank you, Mike, for joining us. And what we're going to do is ask you a couple of questions, and I'm going to pass it on to Kyle to ask you some questions too. And I think we're going to be able to give a ton of value for people joining us today. So first off, I want to start off and ask you, why did you get started on video, and what kind of impact has it had on your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm super excited to be here, guys. And, you know, video has completely changed my life. And like many people, when I got started in real estate, I had no money. I didn't come from a background where I had money. When I got into real estate, I realized that the traditional avenue of marketing took a lot of money in advertising, which was doing bus benches and billboards and mailers and all these things that were very costly. And I didn't have that. I didn't have the means to do it. So what I started looking at is a couple different things. Number one is I started looking at how can I create leverage? Because if you don't have money, you have time. And if you can invest your time into the right activities, you can create leverage, which will ultimately lead to money. Now, the second thing was also looking at consumer behavior and looking at where the industry was going. Because for me, when I got into real estate, when I was an engineer, I was watching other people's YouTube videos and learning about how to get into real estate and what I should be doing once I get my license. And I figured, well, if I acted that way, then maybe other people would want to watch me based on usually your behavior is going to mimic that of the general masses and the public as well. So I started realizing that the future of where people were looking to get educated from and learn resources was through video, because it was much more convenient, and convenience is what sells. So for me, it became a really great avenue to create global exposure. And I think that's been one of the great parts about aligning video with also eXp Realty is being able to amplify your message. But when you look at the top producers in our group, they're now not having to build their business on a one-to-one relationship in terms of prospecting, but they're doing it one-to-many in terms of being able to put out something once that continues to attract business to them for the time being, you know, for years to come.
Absolutely. No, thank you. And I don't think people often realize the amount of lead generation strategies that's out there. And I don't think people give enough credit to what video marketing can do. And I think there's a lack of awareness there. So why video marketing, and why now more than ever?
Yeah, now more than ever. And you know, looking at the video marketing, for example, it's again goes back to that one-to-many relationship versus one-to-one. The traditional way that everybody's taught to build their business is to prospect, which is cold call, door knock, network, things like that, which it can work by all means. But again, that's going to leave you always chasing the next deal for the rest of your life. And your business is only growing when you're putting the time into that activity, which means that if you are somehow diligent enough to prospect for 3 hours a day, like I did 7 days a week, your business is only growing 3 hours a day. Well, the average realtor that cares about their business is probably working like 12 to 14 hours a day. So that means a quarter of your day is building your business. The rest isn't, and attracting clients. So when you start looking at what YouTube does, it creates massive leverage on an evergreen scale. Whereas if you put it in a video once and properly optimize it, that's going to be bringing you clients for the next 5 years. And what it does is it's predicated on SEO. And I think this is why the time is now in terms of that question, because it's completely unsaturated. When you look at, you know, the GTA, for example, there might be 5 agents properly leveraging YouTube. Well, there's 70,000 agents in the market center. So if you're doing business the same way every other agent is doing, you're competing against 70,000. If you're doing it in, you know, the modern way by leveraging video, you're competing against like 5. And chances are those 5 are a different age, ethnicity, language, demographic, culture. There's a multitude of different things that's going to say, hey, somebody will probably relate to Adonis versus me, or Kyle versus Frank. And when you start looking at that, it's going to allow you to carve out a niche for yourself just based on you being unique. But it is time sensitive, because once people start to learn how to properly do this, it's going to be very difficult in years to come for people to actually rank, because of the fact that it's inevitably going to become saturated at some point.
Yeah, no, well said. I think a lot of real estate agents, and you know this, they hold themselves back from getting on YouTube. So what are some misconceptions that agents have when it comes to YouTube and video?
Yeah, there's a couple big ones. The first is quality. A lot of people think that realtors constantly say that they're perfectionists and that the only way that they're going to put something out is if it's by their standards perfect. And they want to have the full local videography crew. They want to have the expensive cameras and all kinds of things like that. But we all know people in our organization that are building $100 million per year businesses leveraging their iPhone. So while all these agents are out there worrying about their videos being perfect, we've got people in our group putting out imperfect videos that are generating tens of millions of dollars of production every single month. And that's one of the big things is people have to understand that it's also about time sensitivity as well as volume, right? We all understand that if you want to coordinate a local video crew to get them set up, come to the listing and do that every single time, not only is it massively expensive, but it's also incredibly inefficient because of the logistical nightmare that it becomes. You can't put that out at scale unless you're like Brian Serhant, right? So that's not with the point that we're at. And then also another big misconception is the vanity metrics, right? There's a lot of people that think that you're only going to be able to get clients if you're getting thousands of views. You're only going to be able to get clients if you get thousands of subscribers and comments and likes and all this kind of stuff. And it couldn't be further from the case. We've had people in our group, get 17 views on a video, and one of those views turns into a $1.4 million listing. It's not a typical industry where you need to go for mass scale of viewership in order to monetize it substantially. If you get one client from 10 views, well, you just got a massive return on your time invested. So it's really looking at the long-term delayed gratification play of this and saying, hey, if we look at all these other people in the market, which we could rhyme off for days, and they've been able to succeed by doing this, well, why wouldn't I be able to do it? And it's just following a proven blueprint that others have been able to, demonstrate in their market center, putting your own flavor on it. But again, I think the one caveat to that is making sure that there's a quote that talks about consistency and how consistency is key. Well, that's very true, as long as you're consistent with the right things, right? Because if you're going to be putting out video, I know people that have been putting out for 5 years and they still don't have a client from their videos. Well, the issue is that they didn't optimize the videos and they haven't been working on improving their delivery of that content. So as long as you're working on improving and learning the foundational skills of how to actually rank your videos, you're going to be in a pretty good spot with your business to scale forever and be able to dial back the time you're actually invested in growing your business as well.
Yeah, no, those are some really key points. And there's some renovation happening right above me. So if you're hearing that, sorry about that. I know this next question is, you'll probably will take hours answering this because I've seen your video and you provide a ton of value around what makes a good video. But let's talk a little bit about what are some key components that you can share with us really on a high level that, a lot of people in here that are somewhat of a beginner to YouTube can take away, what a good video should have, key components.
Yeah, definitely. And we can really keep this short because it's really not that complex. So when you look at a video, the first thing that I want to lead into this, which is people always ask how long a video should be. And the video should be as short as it needs to be to get the point across, so that when somebody finishes watching your video, they don't have to go watch somebody else's to get the information they were looking for, right? No fluff, no filler. People don't care about your day or your weekend or your year. They care about what's in it for them, right? Me, myself, and I. So don't have any of this fluff. Just get straight to the point. Now, in terms of the components of a video, really at the end of the day, it's a hook, it's an intro and a call to action, and then the body of the video, right? So the big thing that a lot of people miss is a hook, which is saying something in the beginning of your video that's going to entice them to stay for the end, right? So instead of just saying something like, hey, it's Mike Sherrard in Toronto with eXp Realty, and today I'm going to talk to you about the market report, you can say, everybody's talking about how the market in the GTA is crashing and why now is the worst time to sell and the worst time to buy. But I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why that couldn't be further from the case. Let me explain in this video. So what that does is say, hey, now there's 3 reasons to stay for this video. It's maybe not what the media is making it seem. So now you've piqued interest. Then you go forward and do your call to action. By the way, my name is Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty, and if you would like to know more about your property or anything else related to the Toronto real estate market, feel free to check out the information linked in the description below, or you can book a private one-on-one meeting with me with the calendar link below as well. Now you're calling the action, telling people where to go from your video. And then you just get straight into the video. It's as simple as that. No filler, no fluff. Hook them, call to action so you actually get them to reach out, and then go into your video.
You make it seem so easy because your videos look so good. And I think this is one where I get a lot of feedback from a lot of my own agents as well and my team members, where they say, I know what I'm doing. I'm, whether or not I'm new to YouTube and I know what the key components are, but I just don't know what to post. And where do you get your content idea from, especially if you are a new agent, or even if you're someone who's been in the industry for a while, but you're someone new to YouTube? What are some suggestions to get started?
Yeah, my recommendation, and this is, again, I try to take the laziest, easiest approach to anything, because you're never going to reinvent the wheel, right? So what I like to do is say, hey, let's look at the channels that are getting a ton of clients from their YouTube channels in other markets. You look at the, living in El Paso's and living in Austin's and all these different markets. Well, they've already proven what works. So all you do is go to the channels that have been proven to work, filter the videos by most popular, and then replace their state, province, or country with yours, and then put your own spin on it, right? It's very simple. So look at what's already been proven to work, because there's already people doing 50 to 100 deals a year from their content. You don't need to get creative with it. Just look at the blueprint that's already been able to work. But then there's also pillar content, right? And when you look at the pillar videos that work, it's the property tours, it's the market updates, especially during this time where interest rates are changing so quickly. Also relocation videos about what it's like to move to your area. So like pros and cons of living in Toronto, costs of living in Toronto, moving there, 5 things you need to know, things you didn't know, all that kind of typical relocation stuff works incredibly well. And then the final thing is, looking at lifestyle in your actual market, which is going to be kind of predicated on like community tours and things like that, which is a very, very great way to farm an area. If you want to farm certain communities, you should have a video on every single community.
Yeah, those are some really good strategies. The first half, the way that we did this event is the first half, I would focus a lot on the theory and a lot of high level stuff. I think it's a really good time to kind of pass it to Kyle. Why don't you take on and kind of talk about more of the practical stuff so that people can actually, write some notes and take the ideas and come to life a little bit,
Absolutely. Thank you, Thermel. Yeah, it's been great so far. I'm sure everybody already has a ton of notes if they're taking notes, what they should be. So my first question for you, Mike, is when you see people putting out videos, what would you say is the biggest mistakes you see from agents that are putting out videos?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is being biased towards their own video. And what I mean by that is, I do this still. I put out hundreds, probably over 1,000 videos now on different platforms easily. And I still look at my own content unbiasedly. So for example, like whenever I finish a video, getting it back from my editing team, like I rewatch my entire video start to finish. And I say, what could I have done better in that hook? What could I have done better in the intro? Where did my attention drop off? Was it too long? Was it too short? Was there things missing? Like I grill myself every single video and I pick apart. But also a big thing is like looking at the thumbnails, for example, right? You have 2 opportunities for somebody to click on your video, the thumbnail and the title. Well, what I do with all of my thumbnails is if I'm doing a video about, moving to Toronto, well, what I'll do is I'll take my thumbnail and take a screenshot of it and put it beside once I do a search on YouTube of moving to Toronto. And I'll look, would I click unbiasedly on my own thumbnail, or would I click on the top 3 that are currently ranking? And what you'll see with most realtors is they would click on the top 3, not even their own thumbnail. So how can you expect anybody else to click on your own thumbnail? Because they half-assed it and designed it on Canva in 5 minutes and it looks like trash, right? So I look at it unbiasedly and say, hey, if I didn't know who I was, if I've never seen me before, and I was just a general consumer trying to find the value that I'm looking for, whose would I click on? And if you wouldn't click on your own unbiasedly, then nobody else will as well. And I think that's one of the big things is being able to remove yourself, because you could have the best video in the world. Nobody's going to know the value of your video if they don't even decide to click on it, right? That's the big issue that a lot of people face. And then the other issue is, again, not working on their delivery, being too nonchalant. A lot of people are used to the communication related to working with buyers and sellers, which is taking time to build relationships and being slow. And you look at a lot of the top producers in our own group, and they will talk the hind legs off a donkey. They don't shut up, right? Because they're so used to talking forever. Well, that's also one of the reasons why their content struggles, because they talk too much, right? So That's another thing. And the last thing is just optimizing it, right? Making sure that you're actually optimizing your videos to rank, because I've seen people put out some incredible videos, great graphic work, great, quality of delivery, but they don't optimize it. So it dies. And that's not what you want.
Yeah, that's huge. I think it's super important to look at something and slowly, consistently improve so your content can actually get better. Now, the other question I have for you, Mike, is, for a lot of agents, especially those that haven't really got onto YouTube yet, the whole process of recording, scripting, uploading, optimizing, all of those steps can seem pretty daunting to a lot of agents. What are your top tips to streamline that process and make it as quick as possible?
Yeah, this is, again, I just go for tools of efficiency. Like you can use something like vidIQ or TubeBuddy. I personally prefer vidIQ. There's free versions of both. And when you start looking at these, you can look at the optimization of those videos that are already proven to work in other markets, take their tags, take their descriptions, take everything like that, and then just replace their market with your market, right? It's very, very simple. It's R&D, rip off and duplicate, or rip off and make it your own in a sense. So you don't have to complicate it. When you use free tools like this, it's gathering the data for you, right? So that's one of my big things is understanding. Of course, you need to understand the components of it, which is the tags, titles, descriptions, thumbnails, right? Are the key components for optimization. So when you're looking at that, my key advice is use one of those 2 free tools in order to look at the optimization of videos already proven to rank. And then the second thing is thinking very literally. A lot of people are used to watching like entertainment videos on YouTube, which are very clickbait heavy. Well, that's not what we're in. We're in a service-based industry that's predicated on SEO, of people looking to find value-driven information and get answers. So you need to not be clickbait or think creatively. Think as literally as possible. When you're doing your optimization, my number one recommendation is to just think from the consumer's perspective, think from your ideal client's perspective and say, what would they be typing into Google or YouTube in order for my video to be the perfect fit? What exactly would they be typing in? Not creatively, but exact words. And that's going to make sure that your content ranks.
That's huge. Yeah, that's very impactful. Now, Mike, once your video is actually up, it's on YouTube, what are some of the things you look at on the back end, some important metrics you like to track so you can improve your videos over time as well?
Yeah, definitely. So YouTube's got some incredible analytics, especially when you go into the engagement tab of your analytics in YouTube Studio. And what I do is I look at my videos that have the quickest drop-off time in the first 30 seconds. So what did I say? And also the vice versa, the highest retention of the first 30 seconds. What did I say in those intros versus the ones that didn't perform that hooked people more than the others? Another important one is looking at the spikes. So what made people, if you see a spike, which means that it went over 100% retention or watch time, what made people rewind and rewatch that section? Well, the more you can do that, the higher your watch time and retention is going to be. And otherwise, I just look at overall watch time. That's the biggest thing, is looking at the videos that have high watch time. What were the topics? What were the key points that I was saying? And just looking at, again, what do people want, right? At the end of the day, if I put out all the videos that I personally want to put out, my channel wouldn't be near where it is right now. Because if I put out a video related to my car, it gets like 200 views. If I put out a video about a Facebook update, it gets 25,000 views, right? So it's looking at your audience, listening to your audience, and giving them more of what they actually care about. So the last thing I'll say on that is, whenever you upload a video, it shows, based on the last 10 videos, how that video ranks, right? Is it 1? Is it 5 out of 10, whatever? Well, what I do at the end of a 10 video period is I look at the top 5 and I say, well, I'm going to do more of these. And I look at the bottom 5 and say, I'm not doing these again. So it's just looking at how people are interacting, giving them more of what they want and less of what they don't.
Yeah, awesome. That's huge. I think, just watching those stats can really help people put out better videos and really optimize their content. Now, Mike, last question for you before we wrap up here and go into the second half is, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for an agent that's looking to get on YouTube and use YouTube as their main lead generation source?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is looking at it as, again, a long-term commitment to your business, right? If you can't do it for a lifetime, don't do it for a day. A lot of people are going to say, well, I'm going to get on YouTube, but if I don't get a client within 3 to 6 months and it's not for me, well, That's not the case. It's just you're not approaching it properly and you're not putting the work in, right? Because you've seen, like, look, not just in real estate, but every other industry, there's millions of multiple 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs that have built their business entirely off of YouTube. It's just they were the ones that were hyper consistent, improving over time, and they committed to this for the long haul. Like, a lot of people say, Mike, you're going to get 100,000 subscribers or 1 million one day. I'm like, cool, I know that. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's just when. And to be honest, I don't care when, because I know I'm going to continue doing this forever. So it's just looking at this as a pinnacle staple in your business that is related to the long-term effects of what you're looking to build. Because if you want to create leverage, if you want to stop chasing the next deal, then you're going to have to introduce strategies like this. Because if you look at every platform that's even related to lead generation, not just marketing, but advertising, all of them have a focus on video. So if you're not adapting, well, you're going to fall behind the curve and you're going to struggle to get clients. So you might as well bite the bullet and get used to it now, instead of having to be forced to do it like you probably will be by next year based on all the Facebook ad changes and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes total sense. Now, Mike, before we actually go to the Q&A here, a couple questions we have in the chat. I know we talked about this on Tuesday. We have something very exciting coming up in a couple of weeks for people that are interested in learning YouTube a bit more. Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be doing a 5-day video challenge, which is super exciting, where for 1 hour a day for 5 days, I'm basically going to be taking you through the entire blueprint of how to leverage video, to the point where at the end of the 5 days, you're not only going to understand every component of YouTube, how to optimize your videos and how to create your video, but by the end of the 5 days, you will have your first video uploaded, optimized, and published, so that you know, start to finish along that entire journey, you know exactly what to do. So that's going to be coming up in early November, which is going to be really exciting, because it's going to be tactical, practical, 1 hour a day, and you will have something tangible by the end of it to say, hey, my video is now up, done, and now you can rinse and repeat.
Awesome. And then if you guys are interested in that, which if you're on this call, I'm sure you are, make sure you join our Facebook group. We'll be keeping you guys updates and teaching you guys how to actually get access to that. So be sure to join the group if you're not there already. But with that being said, we have a couple questions in the chat there. I'm sure there's a lot of great information there, Mike. We really appreciate you being here today. One of the questions we had from Andrea here is, in your early days of content, who actually helped you with your editing, and where could you get a cheap or inexpensive editor?
Yeah, definitely. So in the beginning, I did my own editing. So my second year of real estate, I did 42 deals in the slowest market in the country. And I edited 3 videos a week myself every single week for 2019. Now I did that on iMovie, and I did it because, again, I was broke. So by the end of that year, though, after doing 42 deals, I had a little bit of money. So what I did is I went from doing my own videos to myself, which was good to just learn the process of, to then using Fiverr and outsourcing it in a very cheap way, to now I have my own internal team that takes care of it for me. But that was sort of the evolution over a 4-year period, is myself, very cheap editing, but outsourcing and saving time to do more content, and then being able to get my own team to do it.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, pretty much every single, whether you got Windows or Mac, you'll have some sort of basic editing software. So there's always something you can start off with, and then you can slowly start to go through that progression. We also had a question from Frank here. He's asking, how do you get your subscribers to view your videos more often?
Put out better content. It's very simple. Like, again, when you look at it, if people aren't watching your content, it's because your content is not interesting, or you're not delivering enough value. So, or you're not optimizing it in order to get in front of them. Because the way YouTube works is, it's not that you optimize your video and YouTube puts your content out there. It's that you optimize your video and YouTube decides who should be coming to your video, who should be seeing it, right? So at the end of the day, it really comes down to your verbal delivery, the quality of your content, the quality of your thumbnails, and all of the different kind of components that go into optimizing it. So if you look at that, again, it's just looking at, as Kyle alluded to with a great question, looking at the data, reading the data, and giving people more of what's proven to be interested in by your audience.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something useful. If you're interested in partnering with our record-breaking organization, the Wolfpack, here at eXp Realty, completely for free, just click the link that's in the pinned comment. We can set up a time to talk, and we can see whether or not we'd be a good fit for each other. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the like button down below, and make sure to subscribe. We're going to be posting videos like this on the channel every single week. And be sure to join the Facebook page. The link is in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.